Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jen.
Hello. This is Debra.
And Cassidy.
We just want to say hello and let you know that we miss you and wish we could be right there with you.
Yes. We miss your smiling faces and your hugs and
Absolutely. And your warm hearts. That's what we miss most of all. And playing with you and doing projects and all those things. Doing music, dancing, drumming, we miss all those things, doing all those things with you. Well, today we've got a special something for you, right, Cassidy?
yes.
We are going to tell you a story about a little girl named Elise and everything she gave away. And we're wondering if, as we tell the story, you can just use your imagination and wonder what it would be like if you were in Elisa's shoes. What would you do? What would you do in the same situation? So, and we'd love to hear your reactions after we're done. So, here we go. The story is called Star Money. And once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there lived a little girl named Elise. And both of her parents were dead, but she did live with her grandmother in a little stone cottage far, far away from the nearest village. Now, she and her grandmother were very poor, and her grandmother was sickly and frail, so that she could hardly do anything. But Elise was a sweet little girl and very gentle with her grandmother. But she worked very hard to keep the household going. She tended the vegetable garden, and she cooked and cleaned and cared for her grandmother. And when she had a moment, she would sit by the firelight and read.
She possessed only one book, and she read it over and over. It was a book about birds and their songs and the colors of their feathers and their ways of flight. The birds became her playmates and her friends because she had no others. She fed them crumbs of bread and found them bits of twig for their nests. Remarkably, the birds sang to her. She answered them, whistling their calls in return, and many would alight on her shoulder as she worked in the garden.
Now it came to pass one winter that the stores of vegetables and meats in the little cottage had all been used up. There was not a single thing left to eat. Not only this, her grandmother didn't have the medicine. She didn't have any medicine left to help her to feel good. And her grandmother's strength was failing. So, and Elise had not been able to travel to the village to get any supplies or stores because the winter was so bitter cold and the drifts were so high that they came almost to the roof of the little cottage.
At last, her grandmother gave Elise permission to travel to the village. Someone in the village would help them. She was sure of it. She wrapped Elise warmly in a woolen hat and a cloak, which is like a coat, and mittens, with clothes layered snugly underneath. She gave Elise the very last crust of bread and sent her off into the blistering cold with a final kiss on the forehead. "Come back soon and be careful," she said.
Now, though it was cold and dreary, Elise kept the sunshine in her heart, and she went forth in the open fields, trusting in the good God to help her find her way. After she had walked a little, a poor man met her. And Elise saw that he was very sad and downtrodden. He said, "Ah, can you give me something to eat? I am so hungry. I haven't eaten anything in 3 days." Elise did not hesitate. She gave the man her whole crust of bread and said, "God bless you. May God bless you," and then walked onward through the snow.
After a time, she heard a low moaning behind a snowbank. Ugh. Elise climbed to the very top, and there at the bottom, she saw a little boy shivering in the snow. His face was so pale, and his eyelashes were crusted with ice. The little boy pleaded, "My head is so cold. Please give me something to cover it with." So she took off her woolen hat and gave it to him.
Elise walked bravely on, though she was tired and cold and hungry. Once or twice, she fell down in the powdered snow and laid back and thought how easy it would be to fall asleep. But each time, a flock of birds would fly overhead and circle around her, perch on her cape, and sing out, get up, you must go on." Elise would lift her head, stand, and walk again through the snow.
When she had walked a little further, she met another child who had no jacket and was frozen with cold. She gave this child her cloak and draped it around the child like a little cave so that it was insulated from the cold. Now the snow began to blow in sheets and the wind whipped through the air. Elise tried her best to see which way to go, but she could only see a few feet in front of her. She was alarmed, thinking of her grandmother alone in the cottage with nothing to eat. She said to herself, "I must find a way. Dear angels, help me find the way."
Just then, Elise heard a fluttering through the snow, and she heard her friends, the birds. They circled above her, and she was able to see their brightly colored wings. "Follow us," they chirped. And so Elise plunged her feet through the deep snow and followed the birds as if she were following a brightly colored path. Now, after a time, she came upon an old woman who begged for a dress to cover herself. So Elise removed her dress and gave it to the woman, who gratefully accepted it and said, "May the good God be with you."
At length she got into a forest, and it had already become dark, and there came yet another child who asked for a shirt. And the good girl thought to herself, "Well, it's a dark night and no one sees you, so you can very well give your shirt away." So she took her shirt off and gave that away also.
And so she stood and had not one single thing left. Suddenly, some stars fell from the heavens, and they were nothing but hard, shiny gold pieces of money. And so much of it that the forest floor was gleaming in the moonlight. And although she had just given her shirt away, she wore a shirt of the finest linen. And though she had given her dress away, she wore a frock of royal blue. And though she had given her cloak away, there was a cloak of soft purple velvet around her shoulders.
Elise gathered the many coins into the pockets of her dress and cape, and suddenly she found herself in the middle of the village. And all the villagers were gathered around her, offering her hot tea and biscuits and chocolate. Elise was able to buy the medicine her grandmother needed, and enough stores of food to last a whole year.
And so Elise and her grandmother lived out all their days in comfort, and they never again wanted for anything.
And they always shared what they had with others. The end.
The end. Well, that was quite the story. That little girl gave a lot away, didn't she? And she received a lot in return, didn't she? Now, just what happened in the story? Elise and her grandmother didn't have anything to eat, and her grandmother didn't have any medicine. So Elise set off for the village trying to get stores of food and some medicine. And on the way, she met a little girl and a man and another woman and all these people who needed what she had, whether it was something to eat or something to wear. And she gave all of it to them freely. Right, Cassidy?
And then she got everything she could have asked for in return, with the money and the medicine to buy the food.
Mm-hmm. Falling from the heavens.
Yeah.
Just falling from the whole universe.
And I
Now,
wonder how that little girl felt about giving away all she had. Do you think she was scared she'd be hungry or cold? Or what about when the money and the new clothes rained down? Do you think she was excited and surprised and maybe relieved?
I would be.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when you have seen other people being kind, like Elise. I remember seeing sidewalk chalk drawings of hearts and of rainbows and with messages of welcome and we are all in this together. And that's such a very kind thing, don't you think, Cassidy?
Yeah. And it can be kind just to give a smile to someone you see if you're out on a walk.
That's right.
And I'm
Help
wondering,
them feel less alone.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because we are all in this together. And children watching, I'm wondering how you've been kind to those in need. And maybe how others have been kind to you.
How might you have felt if you were the little girl, you were the person in the story? Would you know that you could be cared for? And what might help you remember to keep your own faith that everything would be okay if you were to make a gift of something that you needed yourself?
Yeah. These are big questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wonder what it would be like if your siblings or your parents or your friends acted like the little girl. What would that be like, giving away everything? Or what if the whole world acted like the little girl and we were always giving things away to each other?
Wouldn't it be a wonderful place? Wouldn't it be a wonderful world to live in?
I would like that.
Me too. Me too.
And I wonder how we'd act if we knew without a doubt that God would provide for us, just like the little girl.
We'd be brave and generous.
Yeah,
I'm assured of that.
yeah, I agree.
Well,
Wow.
we want you to think about how, maybe you have a story that you'd like to write down about something, a gift that you've given or that somebody in your family has given. Or maybe you want to make up another story about Elise. Anything that you want to do in response to the story would be wonderful. You could draw a picture too and send the picture in to us. We'd love to see it. Or you could just put it up on your dining room or kitchen wall as a reminder of this little girl and how generous she was.
Yeah. And we would love, like Debra said, to hear from you. And you could email me, and then your parents could help with that, or your caregivers. And meanwhile, we hope you enjoyed this story and thinking about the questions after. And we thought we would close today with a little prayer for protection. We're going to do the short version, so join in if you know it. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us.
The power of God protects us.
The presence of God watches over us.
Wherever
we are,
God
is.
And
all is well.
Thank you. We miss you.
Bye.
Check out the song next.